and welcome to What's Sizzlin' podcast. This podcast, we talk about very different marketing tactics and topics every week, and we have a new guest for each episode. And I'm very excited that the guest for this episode is Lauren Pond. She runs our SEO and SEM for Creative Sizzle, so we're going to be really excited when we have her. But as always, Julia O'Connor is with me here. Julia, really excited about talking about SEO today. What do you think?
Me too. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good conversation.
So when people talk about SEO, what do you think of mostly?
I always think of like the keywords and, content.
Yeah, and SEO, the search engine optimization, it's really how do you get ranked? When someone goes to Google or they go to Bing or one of the search engines, and typically everybody goes to Google, but when they go to Google and they're looking for something and they type in that box, whatever they type in there, how do you get on the page that follows that box, right? So how do you get on the page? How do you get listed in the search engine rankings so that Google thinks you're the expert for whatever it is that person who's looking to buy your product, that person, you get on their page? That's what I see as search engine optimization.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we all know how important it is to get ranked at the top of those search engine pages, the results there. We were just having a conversation about that earlier today, Mitch, with your son.
Yeah. He's, obviously those, I don't even know what the next generation is called, but he's one of those, and they grew up with technology. And, it's funny, during that same conversation, we talked about, not being able to use your phone to get from place to place.
Right,
it's like, we don't even know how to drive anymore if we're,
right.
As soon as we're at a certain age. But yeah, organic search results. And, from an SEO optimization standpoint, there's the results that are organic, which is, you naturally do something on your website or off-page tactics to be listed as the expert. And then there's obviously a paid search tactics where you can buy ads through AdWords or through social media advertising or other ways and appear in the search results. And today's topic, search engine optimization, are all those things you can do naturally or organically to show up in those results on your website. So it's really cool. So what, we talk about doing that, and everybody wants to be listed on the first page, but what other benefits are there do you see for SEO?
I mean, I think that, like you said, it's great for the rankings. It's also really great for your brand recognition. So getting your brand out there and being recognized immediately is obviously, that's the goal of any business, is to draw attention to your brand and your business. And that's one of the great things about SEO, is it can help you do that.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have Lauren on the show today because she's going to be able to share with us some of the tactics that we use, and all of our listeners out there who are listening to the What's Sizzlin' podcast today, they're going to be able to hear exactly how Lauren, as the expert in search engine optimization, decides or picks the right keywords to use in the strategy, and then what we do with those keywords throughout the entire strategy, because it's not just pick the right words and poof, it's going to work.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that, and hearing how, if you're listening today and you're also excited about it, you're going to get a lot of tactics and tips today that you're going to be able to use. Whether you use us or not, you're going to come out of today's podcast with things that will help you make your business better and use keywords and SEO optimization tactics better right now in your business. So today's show is going to be perfect for you if you're a do-it-yourself, or you like to do it yourself, or if you're just looking for ways to evaluate your current agency, or if you're looking for a new agency. You really want to hear what we have to say right now, because it's going to help you make your business better, just not only from an optimization and ranking standpoint, but also as Julia just mentioned, from a brand recognition standpoint.
And I think the great thing about SEO is that, unlike SEM, which is the paid marketing, you don't have to spend any real money on this effort. You can just make your content a little bit better with some of the tips that Lauren's going to share with us later, and get yourself out there. And I think that's essential for any business. So it should be a really great conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to having Lauren on the show. So as we get set to have Lauren on the show, we're going to take our first little break here, and we'll be back. Are you a company looking to offer a trade show or a training program, or have some other company event but don't know how now that COVID is over and the pandemic is opening up? Contact Sheena Lynn Majette with SLM Education Solutions at slmeducationsolutions.com, and she can help. She offers innovative ways to program events and have events with positive outcomes. Whether you are looking for a format for an education seminar, or for a daily event, or for a trade show, contact Sheena Lynn Majette, and she can help at slmeducationsolutions.com. Welcome back to the What's Sizzlin' podcast. It's the show that covers all things marketing. And today's guest, we have with us Lauren Pond, who is the SEO specialist for Creative Sizzle. And we're really going to stay focused, as Julia, we talked about earlier. We're really going to stay focused, or try to stay focused on the keyword aspect. We know there's a lot of other areas that we would look at from an SEO standpoint, but really getting people started with keywords. Don't you think that's a good place to start, Julia?
Oh, absolutely.
So Lauren, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Very exciting. So we're talking about SEO, we're talking about keywords as it relates to search engine optimization. And, a lot of our clients, a lot of the people that you deal with to begin with, they come to us to begin with and they say, I want to be first on the page when people search for this really competitive word, whatever that word is that makes their industry work. We start with a whole process of how do we select the right keywords and is that the right keyword that they're trying to accomplish or not? So tell me a little bit about how you think about and how you get started with our keywords and our recommended keywords for our clients from a keyword standpoint.
So one of the first things that I think is important is to find out what goal the client has. What are they looking to get out of the search? Are they looking for people coming to their website and taking some sort of an action? So what I like to do is look over their website and see what words stand out to me about their business. And then what I do is we have a tool called Sem Rush, and you can go in there and they have 3 different ways that you can look at different words. You can put in the URL of the website, or you could just put in different keywords that you have found and do like a ranking of those words. And that's kind of how I put my list together. It also shows me how much that word might cost, if somebody clicks on it for the client. Also, just kind of seeing which words might rank the highest. And then it's up to the client. Then I show the list to the client and let them kind of have some input in what we're going to do.
And it's interesting, although you say keywords and which words work the best, you're really talking about keyword phrases. It's word phrases that are, maybe one word, but typically 1 or 2 or 3 or, up to a handful of words together that, someone would type into the Google search box. And I think it's really important what you said, that we start with what they're already doing and what they're already using on their website. Because once we have this word list that we come up with, and again, we're only in the beginning of the process of creating that list to begin with. Once you have this list, now what are you going to do with it? And, one of the most important things is to have this word list and these words appear on your website in your content so that Google sees not only should you be important for those words, but those are the words that you're using on a regular basis in your copy. So those keywords are great. And you're right that the first place to start is in their website. So after you have this kind of initial set of words and you've run it through Sem Rush and that magic keyword tool where you put in some words and it makes some recommendations to you, where else do you go to look for words? I mean, if they're in a particular industry, do you look at their competitors or other sites that are similar to theirs? What's the next place that you look for that initial research?
I look at their competitor websites. Also, with some of these tools, it's nice you can actually put in the URL of the competitor, and then you can go ahead and it'll not spit out, but it'll give you the list of the different words that, maybe, Sem Rush or Google finds better to use than what you're using on your website. So you can kind of see what makes them rank higher than you.
Yeah, and it's very good to always use whatever Google or Sem Rush spits at you, for sure. Yeah, especially in COVID. Make sure Google is spitting all over you. Because Google spitting on you means you are the expert. Right. That's a direct quote from Lauren. Yeah.
That's the virus you want to catch.
Right. There's a virus. Right on. Yeah, exactly.
The Google virus.
Exactly. The Google virus. The bot just sneezed on my website, and now I'm first in the rankings. Yeah, that's good.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. Right. So now you have your list of words and you've put it in Sem Rush and some of the other tools, and now we have this huge list of words that we really just brainstormed. How do you look at that list, or what are some of the things you look at about those words to determine which ones you think the client should focus on? What are the metrics about each word?
So I look at what search volume those words have. So I'll see what search volume really is, how many people are putting in that particular term into Google to search for that particular product or service that the client might be providing. So that's very important, because you don't want one, obviously, that's zero, because that means that nobody's going to be searching for that word. You also kind of need to look at the cost per click, how much money it will cost the client per that keyword. If somebody clicks on it, the better the word, the more money obviously it's going to cost, and you're bidding on that word in order for it to work for you and to show up when somebody's looking for you.
I think it's important, whether or not you are actually buying words and participating in SEM, search engine marketing, or just doing SEO, it's a good idea to understand which of those words are most competitive and expensive. Because if you look at, and I think you're exactly right, if you look at the relationship of each word between the search volume, how often someone searches that word or types in that query, with how expensive or competitive that word is, you can find the right mix of words that are searched a lot, but not that expensive. And if those are the words you focus on, the non-competitive, high volume words, and you can be effective at those words, those are the words that are going to get you the best bang for your buck.
Right. And you want to make sure that those are words that will make sense when you sprinkle them throughout the website and any content or blog post that the client is having on the website.
Yeah, and who doesn't like sprinkles? So tell me, Lauren, now we have this list of words. We brainstormed, we came up with this list. We got 100 words on the list, and we did our research, and now we got 20 or 15 or 30 or whatever the number is, because all of our clients are different. They have different number of words, and their industries are different and competitive, and they're all unique and all that. So we have this list of words. Now, what do you do with it?
I actually like to set up a meeting with the client and show the client the list of words, just to make sure that, not for necessarily their approval, but they're the experts in their field, not me. So I want to make sure that the words that I've picked make sense for them and they like the list we've put together. They might say, oh no, I don't like this word, do this word underneath instead. So it's always good to kind of get the client's input before you do anything, because if you're putting these words on their website, they need to be happy.
Yeah, and I think it's also funny that, we have a lot of clients that we work with SEO, but the funniest ones are, we come up with this list of words and we talk to the marketing director or the vice president of marketing, and they say, this is great. However, the boss, the president, the owner, the whoever, the boss, they will judge you and how well you do at SEO on this one particular word. Right. And when they Google this one word, they better be in the list. Now, mind you, that word may have no results. That word might be the most competitive. That word might not be the best. But if that's how we're judged, right, that's the key performance indicator. If the boss wants it, that's what we got to do.
And that's hard too, because keywords change. So it's always good to do a quarterly report on the keywords that you've picked, because they might have gone up in ranking, they might have gone down. And it is funny, because we have had plenty of the higher ups who say, well, I put this keyword in search and we're not showing up. Well, because it's not that simple. It's just not that simple as people think it is.
Yeah, and when you look at Google search volume, you're the only one that does that search. So, so it's not really that important of a word.
And the more you do it, the more it's just not going to work, because Google keeps looking at the fact that you're the one who keeps looking.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. So I like how we're giving tips for finding the best keywords, and once you have them, sprinkling them through your marketing program. So where else, right? So you have your website and you want to put it as copy on your website. If you're doing AdWords, you want to use it in your AdWords. Where else do you want to make sure that you're using these right kinds of words?
So another process of SEO that I think is really important is Google My Business. I think that people don't realize how important Google My Business is. When you are setting up a Google My Business account for any client, you want to make sure that you use those words when you write the little description about their business, when you put what services they might do. And you're going to be, actually, there's a spot on there where you could put their blog posts. So you want to make sure to have those in there, because that's how people are going to find you. And if you are doing an effective job on the Google My Business, if somebody puts your name in, you're going to show up on that right-hand side with your picture, your logo, and all your pertinent information.
Yeah, so Google My Business will help you get on the map and in that right column. And I think that's important. But I think also to add on to that, it's not just Google My Business. So in your Facebook profile, in your YouTube profile, or any of the videos you're going to upload, Instagram, Snapchat, any of your social sites, everywhere you have a profile online, you should be using these keywords, these effective keywords. And you can only use a couple, 3 maybe per page. So when you write a blog post, you can use 2 or 3 new keywords. You write another blog post, you can have 2 or 3 different keywords. You got a page on your website, you have 2 or 3 keywords. So you have to be able to use these 10 or 20 words, a couple at a time on each of the pages in your content so that it makes the most sense and it keeps you as the expert. And then Lauren, as we begin to wrap up a little bit and we're talking about tracking, what kind of things do you look at to see if it's successful? I mean, we already laughed a little bit a minute ago about, everyone wants to be on the first page and all that, and high up on the search engine results pages, and that is absolutely important. But is that the first and most important thing that we look at from a tracking and optimization standpoint?
No, not necessarily. Yes, you want to be the number one, but actually you really want to be on the first page. Because when you think about it, everybody looks only at that first page, first 10 results. How often do people really look at page number 2? So when we do any kind of keyword research and then we want to go ahead and put together a monthly report for the client, we call it our tracking report, and it's done through Google Analytics. And it really helps us to see how many leads or people are coming to our website or the client's website, whether that be organically or direct. Organically, that's going to be your search engines. That's going to be Google. That's going to be Bing or any of the other ones. And then you want to see when those people or leads come to your website, you want to make sure they're taking action. So you've got to make sure you're bringing them to your website, engaging them, and then they take an action to lead to some type of conversion of whether that be like for the charitable clients that we have, we want to make sure they're donating, or for the non-for-profits. If you're a home builder, filling out a form, to get on the mailing list. It's very important to look at the conversions, and the tracking reports help us do that by looking at the total amount of people who came, how many leads came in, and how many conversions there were for that month.
Yeah, so I think that's important. And I think you hit the nail right on the head with what we look at and what we think is important from a search engine optimization standpoint. And you're right, Search Console and Sem Rush and all those tools will tell us where the website ranks for each of the words. But that's secondary, in my opinion, with how much quality traffic that's taking action are you getting from the search engine. So we look at on a monthly basis at the organic traffic, and we want to make sure not only is the organic traffic number going up or improving month over month and year over year, but we want to make sure that that traffic is converting at some rate, some call to action, whether it's click on your mobile phone to the phone number on the site and talk to a salesperson, or click the driving directions and get the map that'll take you right to their storefront, or fill out the form like you said, or click on the chat bot or live chat, or whatever that call to action is. We want to make sure that that's improving year over year, month over month, and is coming from the search engines. And really, to me, that's more important. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's someone who gets to your website who wants to buy your product that came from the search engines. It doesn't matter if you're in the number 1 position, or it doesn't matter if you're on the 6th page. If that word is driving traffic, your search engine optimization is working.
Well, and the other great thing about doing the tracking reports, it helps us come up with a plan. So if, let's say, something's not working, we can look at some kind of reason why. Maybe we need to change around some of the keywords. Maybe we need to look at the content and think about repurposing something. Or if, let's say, a blog post from 3 years ago, we're seeing it bringing in users or leads, rewrite that blog post, make it pertinent for now, and put it up on the website.
Yeah, so that's a great teaser for a future podcast where we talk about tracking and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think it's very important to track it. So Lauren, thank you very much for being on the show with us today, and we really hope the listeners learned a lot about our keywords. And with that, we're gonna take another commercial break, and we'll be back here in a minute to wrap up and offer you something about SEO and search engine optimization. So if those of you that are listening to our Creative Sizzle podcast are interested in help just kind of selecting keywords, not only do we hope that you got a lot out of Lauren's segment, but if you're interested in finding out more and maybe getting a little bit of help for free, stay tuned.
This episode of Creative Sizzle is brought to you by the gym. Instead of building up your muscle, we want to help you build up your brand. Come to us for the best and latest in marketing innovations. And now, back to What's Sizzlin' podcast.
Welcome back to the What's Sizzlin' podcast. That was a great segment with Lauren. She taught us a lot about keywords and how to pick them and where to start and get started. What did you think about that, Julia?
I thought it was great. I always learn a little something from Lauren whenever she talks to me about SEO, and this was no exception. She really killed it.
Yeah, and I'm really excited that not only will we talk in a future episode about SEM, search engine marketing, but also I think that tracking report that she talked about, it's going to be really exciting to hear about, what we do and how we look at tracking reports and, what we use the tracking report for, because it's great to look at your traffic and look at it every month, but to do something with it and to make an educated decision about making your program better is really much more important.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so important. And especially when you're taking a look at those reports, really understanding what they mean, what they indicate, and, what they're showing you, like you were hinting at there is, I think that'll be a great conversation as well.
Yeah, and to follow up with that, the SEO that we talked about today, those keywords and the optimization that we use, that's really kind of core to the overall marketing strategy, and it's becoming more of a business process. It's becoming part of everything that you do, and not just an optimization tactic. I mean, that's how awesome SEO is. You use it everywhere.
Right. And I think even, one of the great things about getting to work with Lauren is that, coming from a content standpoint, when I write my blogs, I'm not necessarily focused on the keywords as much as I should be. That's my little secret. But then I have conversations with Lauren, and she, reminds me of what kinds of keywords can really help to optimize my content better and make our website, our brand, our blogs stand out and, get ranked better. So it's always good to kind of have that reminder of getting that SEO element into your content.
Yeah, and I think it's important, when I write something, and I've been doing this for years, I'll write the topic out and I'll write the entire post out, and then I'll think, what keywords make sense? And then I'll look back at the article and see where would it make sense to put these keywords in, because if it doesn't make sense, I picked the wrong keywords. So, and it's really hard, what I found for me, it's really hard to pick the keywords first and then write something to wrap around those keywords. It's really a lot easier to write the blog post and then add the keywords or modify the blog post to make sure that the keywords make sense.
Exactly. Exactly. For sure. I totally agree. I think that writing that post is kind of hard enough sometimes. So making sure that you've got all your content, making sense in the way that you want it, and then going back but that is an important part of it, is making sure that there are keywords that will help to benefit your business on the search engine ranking page.
And using those keywords, like Lauren said, sprinkle it everywhere. You want it in your blog, on your website content, in the title, you want it in your hashtags and social media, you want it in your profiles, everywhere. You definitely want to use those keywords everywhere so that Google and the other search engines see that you are the expert. So as we wrap up, I want to give something away to all of our listeners. If you're interested, if you've been wrestling with keywords, or even if you think you have the right keywords, I'm going to challenge you. If you want us to do a review of your keywords and use those words and put them in some of our tools and give you our recommendations to whether or not you're using the right keywords or whether we could recommend other keywords for you, give us a call. We're happy to do that. We'll spend an hour doing some keyword research for free, no problem. And we'll just make sure that you're using the right keywords. And if you want to use us, great. If you want to keep doing it yourself, great. If you're using another agency and you just want us to evaluate the words they're using, great, no problem. No questions asked, no problem. It's just a free kind of keyword audit for you to make sure that you're using the right words. Because sometimes having a second set of eyes look at something will help you be better. And if you're doing it yourself and you're not sure you're using the right words, and you're listed every word you're using, you're on the first page, but you're not generating sales, you're not driving quality traffic, it might be your words. So give us a call.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. Very well said.
Yeah, check out creativesizzle.com. So that's it for today's episode of What's Sizzlin'. Head over to iTunes or wherever you're getting this podcast from to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps out the show. As always, if you'd like more information about today's guest, becoming a guest yourself, or if you need any marketing support, that can be found at creativesizzle.com/what's-sizzlin'. Thanks again. I'm Mitch Levinson. Thanks, Julia.
Thanks for having me, Mitch.
And I'll see you next time.